You humans have a saying, every pack has an alpha, but you don't understand what that truly means. My name, if you can call the sounds my pack makes a name, is something you'd hear as a low rumble. But the old man who changed everything, he called me Ghost, after the color of my graying fur. I'm 9 years old, ancient for a wolf. Every breath burns now, tastes of copper. The tumor in my throat grows daily, 6 months, maybe less. I should be at peace, but I can't die yet, because 16 years ago I found a human baby in the ashes of a burned wagon. Her parents lay dead. She was crying, not the helpless wail of the abandoned, but the furious scream of a survivor. I should have left her. Instead, I raised her. And now, men are coming to kill my daughter. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments along with the city you're watching from now. Let's continue with the story. 7 years ago, I watched my family die. It happened on a spring morning when the world smelled of new grass and possibility. I'd gone hunting with my brother, Gray Fang we called him, for the silver streaks along his jaw. We ranged far that day, chasing elk through the high meadows. When we returned at dusk, the silence hit us first. No greeting howls, no pups yapping, just nothing. The smell came next. Gunpowder, blood, death. They'd shot my mate first. She'd been nursing our 4 pups when the bullets came. I found her in the den entrance, body curled around our babies, all dead. She'd tried to shield them with her own flesh. My father, the alpha, had died outside, defending, his throat torn open by buckshot. 12 wolves, my entire family, slaughtered in an afternoon. Greyfang howled, that terrible sound of a heart breaking. He wanted to track the humans, to kill them, but I held him back. What could 2 wolves do against men with guns? We buried nothing. Wolves don't. We simply left, walked away from everything we'd known. Greyfang died 6 months later. Infection from a cut that wouldn't heal, or maybe grief. Sometimes the body just gives up when the heart's too broken. I was alone then, truly alone. I wandered for a year, sleeping in different places each night, hunting without joy, existing without purpose. I thought about dying, often. Wolves can choose that, you know. We simply stop eating, stop fighting, let the cold take us. Then I found her. June 15th, 2009. The date means nothing to me, but I remember the moon phase, waxing crescent, thin as a claw mark in the sky. I smelled smoke first, then burned wood and fabric, then blood, human blood, days old. The wagon had been torched. 2 bodies lay nearby, already decomposing, man and woman, throats cut. This wasn't a bear attack like the authorities would later claim. This was murder. I could smell the gunpowder, the deliberate cruelty. I almost left, almost. Human problems weren't mine. Then I heard her cry. She was perhaps 6 months old, wrapped in a burned blanket 20 feet from the wagon. Somehow she'd been thrown clear or crawled away. Her face was soot-stained, her green eyes bright with fury and fear. She reached for me, not away, toward, and I remembered. My mate's eyes, looking at me one last time, trusting me to protect what mattered. I'd failed my family. Every day I carried that weight. But this child, maybe she was my second chance. I picked her up gently. Wolves can be gentle when we choose, and carried her into the forest. I named her Luna, for the moon that witnessed our first night together. For 16 years I have been her father, taught her to hunt, to survive, to speak the language of wolves and wind. Now men are coming, And this time, I won't fail. This time I'll protect my family. Or die trying. The old man arrived on a Tuesday morning in late June, when the Montana sun painted the high meadows gold. I smelled him 2 days before I saw him. Wood smoke, old leather, and underneath it all, grief. The kind that's aged into the bones, become part of the body's chemistry. He came with a horse, a patient mare named Copper, 2 mules loaded with supplies, and a dog. The dog interested me most. Blue heeler, 10 years old, gray around the muzzle, limping slightly on his right hind leg. The dog's name was Scout. I learned this by watching, by listening to the old man talk to him like he understood every word. Easy now, Scout. We're home, or what passes for home these days. The cabin had been empty for 3 years. I knew because I'd marked its perimeter regularly, kept other predators away. Some instinct told me it might be useful someday. Shelter, if Luna ever needed it. Now this human was claiming it. I watched from the tree line as he unloaded, as he swept out years of dust and mouse droppings, as he patched the roof and reinforced the door. He worked with the careful precision of a man who understood that up here, sloppy work meant death. Scout noticed me first, naturally. Dogs always do. They remember their wolf ancestry, even when they pretend to be domesticated. He barked once, sharp, alert. The old man looked up. Our eyes met across 50 yards of clearing. He didn't reach for his rifle, didn't shout, just looked. Really looked. Then he nodded. Once. A gesture of respect, one creature to another, and went back to work. That night, I told Luna about him. She'd grown curious about humans over the years. How could she not? She was one, after all, though she'd lived as wolf since infancy. The human at the old cabin, she said in our language, a mixture of growls, whines, and body language. Is he dangerous? Unknown, I answered, but he respects boundaries. He didn't shoot when he saw me. Can I see him? No, not yet. We watch first. Humans are complicated. For 5 days, we watched. The old man established routines. Up at dawn, coffee boiled black and strong, breakfast of salt pork and hardtack. Then he'd work, cutting firewood, repairing fences, checking a small trap line he'd set for marten and fox. He talked to Scout constantly, about the weather, about repairs needed, about people I assumed were dead. A woman named Rose, a daughter named Sarah. Sarah would have loved it here, he said one evening, staring at the sunset. She always wanted to live in the mountains, said the city was too loud, too crowded. His voice broke on her name. Scout whined softly and pressed against his leg. The old man buried his face in the dog's fur and cried, silently, the way men do when they think no one's watching. I understood then. This man was like me, a survivor carrying ghosts. On the 6th night, he did something unexpected. He set out food, not bait for a trap. I would have smelled the metal. Just a tin plate loaded with salt pork, biscuits, and dried apples placed on a flat rock 30 yards from his door. Then he went inside, leaving the door cracked open. Luna looked at me, questioning. It's a test, I said. He knows we're here. He's offering peace. Should I go? Every instinct screamed no. Humans were dangerous. Humans had killed my family. Humans murdered her parents. But this human smelled different. Not of hate or fear, but of loneliness, of hope. Go, I said finally, but I stay between you and the door. At the first wrong move, we run. Luna approached on all fours. She'd always moved more comfortably that way. She circled the food, sniffing, testing for poison. Nothing. Just simple food, honestly offered. She took a piece of meat and retreated several steps. Chewed carefully, waited. No sickness, no trap. She returned, took more, then looked toward the cabin door. Through the crack I saw the old man watching. His face was illuminated by firelight, carved deep with wrinkles and sorrow. But when he saw Luna, something changed. His eyes widened, not with fear or greed, but with wonder, and something else, something that made my throat tight. Recognition, the kind a broken person has when they see another broken soul. Luna took the rest of the food and disappeared into the darkness. I followed, but not before catching the old man's scent again. The grief was still there, but now mixed with something new, hope. That night, Luna asked me, "What do we call him?" I thought about his silver hair, his quiet strength, his patient dignity. "Greymane," I said. "We call him Greymane." And somehow, I knew our lives had just changed forever. The pattern continued for 5 nights. Greymane would set out food at dusk. Luna would approach, always cautious, always testing. I would stand watch, ready to defend if needed. But no threat came. Just food, offered without demand or expectation. On the 5th night, Luna didn't run immediately after eating. She sat on her haunches 20 feet from the cabin, studying Greymane through the cracked door. He sat by his fire, whittling a piece of pine. Scout lay beside him, gray muzzle resting on crossed paws. Luna tilted her head, her curious gesture, the one she'd learned from watching me. Greymane smiled. Not the predatory smile humans sometimes wear, but something gentle, sad even. "You're a beautiful girl," he said softly. "Wild and free. That's how it should be." Luna didn't understand his words, but she understood his tone. Wolves are experts at reading emotion in voice. She took 1 step closer. Greymane went very still. Even Scout didn't move. Another step. Then Luna did something that made my heart stop. She reached out one hand, palm up, a gesture of peace, of curiosity. Greymane slowly extended his own hand, not touching, just offering. They stayed like that for perhaps 30 seconds. 2 hands reaching across an impossible divide. Then Luna pulled back, dropped to all fours, and vanished into the forest. But something had shifted. Some barrier had cracked. When we returned to our den that night, Luna was unusually quiet. "He's sad," she finally said. "Like you were, after the family died." "Yes," I agreed. "He's lost someone. Maybe many someones. Can we help him? Like the pack helps each other?" I didn't answer immediately. How could I explain the complexity? That helping him might mean losing her? That every bridge she built to the human world was a step away from mine? But I'd learned something in 16 years of raising a human child. Love isn't about holding on. It's about letting grow. "Perhaps," I said. "But carefully, very carefully." The next morning, everything changed. I woke to the sound of gunfire. 3 sharp cracks echoing from the south ridge, then men's voices, shouting, excited, then a yelp of pain, wolf pain. My pack, 6 wolves I'd gathered over the years, all orphans like me, scattered in alarm. I counted quickly: Silvertail, Blackpaw, Ember, Ash, Frost. Frost was missing. Luna bolted upright, eyes wild. "Where's Frost?" Another yelp, closer now, desperate. Frost burst through the undergrowth, blood streaming from his left haunch. The youngest of our pack, barely 2 years old. He collapsed 10 feet from our den, whimpering. Behind him came the hunters. 3 men, rough-looking, carrying rifles. The lead man was barrel-chested with a black beard shot through with gray. His eyes were hard, cold. I recognized his scent immediately. It carried the chemical tang of old rage, the kind that's fermented into something toxic. This was a wolf killer, professional, dedicated. Luna ran to Frost, pressing her hands against his wound to slow the bleeding. The bullet had torn through muscle but missed bone, painful but survivable if treated. The bearded man pulled up short when he saw us. "Well, I'll be damned," he said, grinning. "The stories are true. There really is a wild girl up here." His companions fanned out, rifles ready. "That's your wolf, girlie?" the bearded man continued. "Been tracking this pack for 3 days. They've been killing sheep down in the valley. There's a bounty on them." Luna looked up at him, eyes fierce. She didn't speak, couldn't in his language, but her meaning was clear. "Back off." The man laughed. "Feisty thing. You been living rough up here long? Don't worry, we'll take you back to civilization where you belong. Get you cleaned up, civilized, might even be a reward." He took a step forward. I moved between him and Luna, planted my feet, let my lips curl back from my teeth. The message was clear. "You go through me first." "Easy now, Wolf," the man said, raising his rifle. "I got no problem putting you down too." Then a voice rang out from behind us, calm, steady, deadly serious. "The girl stays here." Greymane stepped into the clearing, his own rifle held ready. Scout flanked him, hackles raised and growling. "This is my land," Greymane continued, "and they're under my protection." The bearded man's eyes narrowed. "Now, old-timer, I don't think you understand the situation. That pack has killed livestock. There's a bounty. And that girl, she's been lost for years. There's folks in town who've been looking for her. She needs to come back with us." "She's not property," Greymane said quietly. "She's a human being, and she's not going anywhere." The other 2 men shifted their stances, hands moving toward triggers. I felt my pack materialize from the forest, Silvertail to the left, Blackpaw to the right, Ember and Ash behind. 6 wolves forming a loose semicircle around the 3 hunters. The hunters hadn't noticed them yet. Humans never do until it's too late. The bearded man's face darkened. "You're making a mistake, old man. We're 3 to 1. Stand aside." Greymane raised his rifle an inch, not quite aiming but making his intention clear. "First man who moves toward that girl or that wolf gets a bullet." The standoff held. Tension crackled like lightning before a storm. Scout's growl deepened. Frost whimpered. Luna held perfectly still, her hand still pressed against the young wolf's wound. Then I growled, low, continuous, a sound that came from my chest, from my belly, from 16 years of protecting what mattered most. My pack echoed the sound. 6 voices joining mine. The hunters heard it now, heard us surrounding them. The bearded man's face went pale. He glanced back, saw the wolves positioned behind them, realized they were trapped between Greymane's rifle and a pack of predators. "This ain't over," he finally spat. "Name's Clayton Mercer, and I'll be back, with more men." He gestured to his companions. They began backing away slowly, keeping their rifles ready. The pack watched them go. Didn't move until their scents had faded into the distance. Only then did I breathe again. Greymane lowered his rifle slowly. Looked at me. Really looked. "Let's get your boy inside," he said, gesturing toward Frost. "I can help." And for the first time in 16 years, I let a human near my family. Greymane's cabin smelled of wood smoke, old books, and loneliness. But underneath all that, kindness. The scent humans have when they truly care, when compassion runs deeper than self-interest. I'd never been inside a human dwelling before. My instincts screamed danger, trap, confined space with only one exit, every muscle in my body coiled tight, ready to bolt. But Frost was bleeding. And Luna trusted this man. So I entered. Scout retreated to a corner, uncertain but not aggressive. He watched us with intelligent eyes, eyes that understood more than most dogs. Later, I would learn why. Scout carried wolf blood in his veins, distant but real. His grandmother had been a wolf-dog hybrid. He was literally a bridge between our worlds. Greymane cleared space near the fireplace and spread out an old blanket. "Easy now," he murmured. "Let's take a look." Silvertail and Blackpaw helped lower Frost onto the blanket. The young wolf whimpered, eyes rolling with pain and fear. Luna knelt beside him, one hand on his head, speaking softly in our language. "You're safe. The kind human will help. Be brave, little brother." Greymane fetched a worn medical kit, Army surplus, I later learned, from his days as a forest ranger. His hands were steady as he examined the wound. "Bullet grazed the muscle," he said, more to himself than us. "Missed the bone. Lucky. But it needs cleaning or infection will kill him." He pulled out a bottle of whiskey. "This is going to hurt, boy. I'm sorry." He poured the alcohol directly into the wound. Frost yelped and thrashed. I lunged forward instinctively, teeth bared. Greymane didn't flinch, didn't reach for a weapon, just looked at me with sad, understanding eyes. "I know," he said softly. "I know it hurts him. But this saves his life. Trust me, please." Luna placed her hand on my shoulder. "He's helping, Father. Let him help." I stepped back, forced myself to watch as Greymane cleaned the wound, applied some kind of salve, then bound it with strips of clean cloth. When he finished, Frost's breathing had steadied. The panic had left his eyes. "There," Greymane said, sitting back. "He'll be sore for a while, but he'll heal." The rest of the pack had settled around the fire, forming a protective circle. They were calm now, sensing no threat. Greymane looked at Luna for a long moment. His eyes glistened with something that looked like grief. "You're safe here," he told her, though I doubt she understood the words. "Those men won't get you. Not while I'm breathing." Then Luna did something that shocked me. She reached out and touched his hand. Just briefly, her rough fingers against his weathered skin, but it was deliberate, intentional, a thank you in the only language she had with him. Greymane's breath caught. A tear rolled down his cheek. And in that moment, sitting on the floor of a mountain cabin with a pack of wolves and a wild girl, I felt something shift inside me. The grief that had weighed me down for 7 years suddenly felt less like an anchor. I'd come to these mountains to disappear, to wait out my remaining time in solitude. Instead, I'd found something impossible, something that needed me. For the first time since my mate died, I felt like I had a reason to see tomorrow. We stayed through the night. Frost needed rest, and moving him risked reopening the wound. Greymane made coffee, bitter, black, strong, and sat in his chair near the door, rifle across his knees, keeping watch. Scout eventually overcame his uncertainty and lay near me, close enough to be part of the group but maintaining respectful distance. I studied him in the firelight. Old, like me, gray around the muzzle, arthritis in his hips. But his eyes were sharp, alert. He looked at me and whined softly, not submission but communication, and telling me something. I listened. Dogs and wolves can understand each other when we try. It's like dialect, different but recognizable. Scout's message came through. Master lost daughter. Daughter loved me. Now I protect Master. He is good. Sad, but good. I whined back. I lost family too. We protect each other now. Scout's tail thumped once. Agreement. As dawn light began filtering through the cabin's small window, Luna stirred. She'd been sleeping curled against me, as she had every night since infancy. She looked at Gray Mane, who dozed off in his chair, chin on chest. Then she looked at me. "Father," she said in our language, "can we trust him?" I thought about his steady hands cleaning Frost's wound, about him standing against armed men to protect us, about the grief I'd smelled on him, the same grief I carried. "Yes," I answered. "We can trust him. Will he teach me human things?" My heart clenched. This was what I'd feared since the day I found her, that she would grow beyond me, beyond the pack, beyond the wild, but denying her humanity would be just another kind of cruelty. "If he's willing," I said. "Yes." Luna's face brightened. For the first time since childhood, she looked fully human, hopeful, eager. She stood and walked to where Gray Mane slept, touched his shoulder gently. He woke with a start, hand instinctively moving toward his rifle. Then he saw her and relaxed. "Morning," he said, his voice rough with sleep. Luna pointed at herself, then at a piece of paper on his table, then made a gesture, moving her hand as if writing. Gray Mane understood immediately. "You want to learn?" Luna nodded vigorously. Something like joy crossed Gray Mane's weathered face. "All right then, let's start simple." He fetched a slate and chalk from his supplies, drew a circle. "Circle," he said, tapping the slate. Luna took the chalk awkwardly, holding it in her fist like a child. She stared at the slate, clearly uncertain. Gray Mane guided her hand gently, showing her the circular motion. On her second attempt, she produced something approximating a circle, wobbly and imperfect, but recognizable. When she looked up at him, there was wonder in her eyes, the wonder of discovering that the world contained more than just survival and instinct. I watched from my place by the fire, my heart full of competing emotions. Pride at her intelligence, fear of losing her, hope that maybe, just maybe, she could have both worlds. Gray Mane seemed to sense my conflict. He looked at me over Luna's head, and I saw understanding in his eyes. He knew what it cost me to share her. Over the following days, a routine developed. The pack would leave at dawn, hunting and ranging through our territory. But every evening, as light faded, we would return to the cabin. Gray Mane would set out food, always enough for all of us, not just Luna. And Luna would stay longer each visit, sitting on the porch steps while Gray Mane worked nearby. Sometimes he would talk, rambling thoughts about the weather, about his work, about people from his past. "My wife, Catherine," he said one evening, repairing a fence. "She had Alzheimer's. Watched her forget everything. Our life together, our daughter, me. By the end, She'd look at me like I was a stranger. His voice broke. She'd ask where Sarah was. Our daughter. Didn't remember Sarah had died 12 years before. Every day I had to tell her again. Watch her heart break fresh every single time. Luna didn't understand the words, but she understood pain. She moved closer and simply sat with him. Sometimes that's all grief needs. Presence. On the fourth day, Greymane tried something new. He extended his hand toward Blackpaw, palm down, moving slowly. Blackpaw watched him, then looked at me, questioning. I gave a low rumble. Permission. Blackpaw approached cautiously, sniffed Greymane's hand thoroughly, then allowed the old man to touch the top of his head. The contact lasted perhaps 10 seconds. Then Blackpaw stepped back and trotted away. But it was enough. A barrier had been crossed. Luna had been watching from the porch. When I looked at her, I saw approval in her expression. My daughter was teaching us all, wolf and human alike, that trust was possible, even between species that had been enemies for millennia. On the 7th day since the confrontation with Clayton Mercer, Greymane rode down to check his farthest trapline and returned with his face carved from stone. I knew immediately something was wrong. His scent carried anger, cold, controlled, dangerous. Every trap had been destroyed, not just sprung, but deliberately smashed. The metal twisted and broken with methodical violence, and carved into a tree at the site, deep gouges that would scar the wood forever. Last warning. Luna saw his expression and made a questioning sound, a soft whine that meant, "What's wrong?" Greymane sat heavily on the porch steps, suddenly looking every one of his 65 years. "We've got trouble coming," he said quietly. "Those men. They're not going to stop." He looked at me directly, as if I could understand every word. And perhaps I did. Not the language, but the meaning behind it. "They'll come back," he continued. "And when they do, there'll be more of them." That night I couldn't sleep. I lay outside the cabin, watching the stars wheel overhead, my mind racing through scenarios. Clayton Mercer. The name had reached me through forest whispers, through the coded warnings ravens share. He was known, feared. A man who'd lost something precious and turned that loss into a weapon. 10 years ago his son had died, 12 years old. Wolf bite, then rabies. 7 days of agony before the end. I understood his pain, truly. I'd lost pups too, held them as they died, helpless to save them. But grief isn't permission for cruelty. Loss doesn't justify creating more loss. Luna emerged from the cabin and settled beside me. She'd begun sleeping inside recently, curled near the fireplace with Frost and the younger pack members. "Father," she said in our language, "are we in danger?" "Yes." "Because of me? Because I'm human?" I turned to look at her, this girl I'd raised, who moved between two worlds with impossible grace. She was 16 now, though she couldn't know her own age, strong, quick, intelligent beyond measure. "Because men like Clayton see only what threatens them," I answered, "not what is. They see a wild girl and think problem to solve. They see wolves and think monsters to destroy." "Then we run? Like before?" "Before. After my family was killed, I'd run, changed territories, abandoned my home range, became a wanderer. But running meant starting over. Again. At 9 years old, I didn't have many agains left. And more importantly, Luna deserved better than a life spent fleeing. "No," I said firmly. "This time, we stand." Over the next 3 days, we prepared. Greymane taught Luna about guns, how they worked, how to load them, how to aim. I didn't like it. Guns had killed my family, but practical survival trumped my discomfort. Luna learned quickly, as always. Her hunter's instincts translated seamlessly: patience, steady breathing, focus. By the third day, she could hit a target at 50 yards. Meanwhile, I trained the pack, not for killing. I'd been clear about that from the start. We only killed to eat or in immediate self-defense. This would be different. Harassment, intimidation, making ourselves seem more numerous and dangerous than we were. I taught them to coordinate attacks from multiple directions, to create the illusion of being surrounded, to strike fast and retreat faster. Silvertail grasped the tactics immediately. She'd always been the smartest of the pack after me. Blackpaw had the aggression needed. Ember and Ash, the twin sisters, moved in perfect synchronization. Even young Frost, still healing, insisted on participating. "I won't be left behind," his body language said. "I'm pack." Greymane observed our training with interest. "You're preparing them like soldiers," he noted. "Teaching strategy, not just instinct." He was right, though I couldn't explain it to him. Luna translated sometimes, her growing understanding of English allowing basic communication. "Ghost says, wolves smart. Not just animals. We think. We plan." Greymane nodded slowly. "I'm starting to understand that." On the fourth morning, Scout began growling at the southern ridge. His old body went rigid, hackles raised. Greymane grabbed his rifle. "They're here." I didn't need to see them to know he was right. I could smell them on the wind. 8 men this time, maybe 9. Gunpowder, determination, fear masked by bravado. They were half a mile out, moving through the timber toward us. Luna looked at me, eyes fierce. No fear, just readiness. "Positions," I commanded the pack. We'd rehearsed this. Silvertail to the high ground east, Blackpaw to the low ground west. Ember and Ash would flank from the north. Frost would stay with Luna and Greymane. His injury made him liability in mobile combat, but he could still defend static positions. I would be forward, first line. The Alpha leads from the front. "Ghost," Greymane called softly, "don't die for us. If it goes bad, you run. Take Luna and run." I met his eyes. In them I saw the same thing I felt, the absolute refusal to abandon family. I huffed. Translation: "Not a chance." Greymane smiled grimly. "Stubborn wolf. All right then. Let's give them hell." The first man appeared at the tree line just before noon. Cautious, rifle ready, scanning for threats. I let him pass, let him feel safe. The second man followed, then the third. When 6 men had entered the kill zone, the open ground between forest and cabin, I gave the signal. A low, sustained howl, ancient, primal, the sound that's haunted human nightmares since the first campfires. My pack answered from 3 sides. Suddenly the forest was alive with wolves, everywhere and nowhere. The men spun in confusion, rifles swinging toward phantom targets. "East side," one shouted. "No, west." "Behind us." We never showed ourselves fully. Just glimpses. A gray shadow here, a flash of teeth there, the rustle of undergrowth from impossible angles. Psychological warfare, making 6 wolves seem like 60. One man fired wildly into the trees. His bullet hit nothing but bark. "Hold your fire, damn it!" Clayton's voice. He'd learned to recognize the sound, fighting panic with discipline. "It's a trick. They're making us waste ammunition." Smart, more dangerous than I'd hoped. Fall back, Clayton ordered. Defensive formation. Watch your sectors. They began retreating, moving in a tight cluster, protecting each other's backs. But retreat meant abandoning the high ground, meant ceding territory. We'd won round one. When they'd disappeared into the forest, Greymane exhaled shakily. "How did you do that? There's only 6 of you, but it sounded like dozens." Luna tried to explain, her English still broken but improving. "We move fast, different places. They see many wolves, but same wolves, same. Illusion," Greymane supplied. "You created an illusion." "Yes, illusion, but I knew the truth." Greymane was too kind to say, "This was a delaying tactic only. Clayton had 9 men. They had experience and firepower. Eventually, they'd realize our numbers. And then the real battle would begin." That afternoon, I discovered just how determined Clayton was. Greymane went to check our water source, the creek that ran below the cabin. When he returned, his face had gone pale. "They poisoned it," he said, voice tight with anger. "Dumped something upstream. Chemical smell. We can't drink that water." He had stored water in barrels, enough for perhaps 3 days. After that, "They're trying to force us out," Greymane continued. "Make us come to them or die of thirst up here." Siege tactics. Clayton had learned from military men or read books on warfare. This wasn't just a hunt anymore. This was strategy, planning, a chess game played with lives. That night, something happened that changed everything. Luna was practicing English with Greymane, slowly sounding out words from one of his books. She'd progressed remarkably. Turns out a brain that can learn wolf language, bird calls, and wind reading can master human speech too. She was trying to say Greymane, her name for him, but the sounds were difficult. Greymane, she managed. Greymane smiled. Close, very close. Then Luna tried something different. She pointed at him. "Father?" Greymane's smile froze. His eyes filled with tears. "No, honey," he said gently. "I'm not your father. Ghost is your father. He raised you." But Luna shook her head. She pointed at me. "Father." Then at Greymane. "Father, too. Both." Understanding dawned on his face. She wasn't replacing me. She was expanding the definition of family. "Both," Greymane repeated, his voice breaking. "Yes, if you'll have me, I'd be honored." Luna smiled, that rare, beautiful expression that transformed her face. Then she did something I'd never seen her do. She hugged him. Awkward at first. She'd only ever embraced pack, fur, not clothing. But she wrapped her arms around the old man and held on. Greymane buried his face in her wild hair and wept. "I failed my Sarah," he whispered. "But maybe God's giving me a second chance." I watched this moment, this impossible bridge between species, between worlds, and felt my own eyes burn. 3 broken souls. An old man who'd lost his daughter, a wolf who'd lost his family, and a girl who'd lost everything but found something new. Family isn't about blood. It's about choice, about showing up, about protecting what matters. And in that cabin, surrounded by danger, we'd built something worth protecting. The next morning, Clayton would return with more men and a new strategy. But tonight, we were together, and that made us strong. The attack came 3 days later, at dawn, when the world balanced between darkness and light. I woke to the smell of smoke and accelerant, gasoline or kerosene, something human and chemical, wrong in the clean mountain air. Then I heard it, the whoosh of flames catching, the crackle of dry wood igniting. They were burning us out. I bolted upright, hackles raised. The pack was already moving, sensing danger before fully conscious. Luna grabbed Greymane's rifle. Greymane was at the window, Scout pressed against his leg. "They've set fires," Greymane said, voice tight. "3 sides, driving us toward the eastern slope where the ground drops off. They want us trapped against the cliff." Smart. Ruthless. Clayton had learned from his failures. "We break through the fire line," Greymane continued, checking his ammunition. "North side, flames are smallest there. Then we scatter into the high timber where they can't follow with vehicles." But I smelled something else beneath the smoke, something that made my blood run cold. Explosives. Greymane smelled it too. His face went gray. "Dynamite. They're going to blow the cabin." Luna looked between us, understanding the danger even without words. Her hand found my ruff, fingers tangling in my fur, the gesture she'd made since childhood when frightened. "Father," she said in our language. "What do we do?" Before I could answer, Clayton's voice boomed from beyond the flames. "Old man, you've got 1 minute to send that girl out. We won't hurt her, just taking her back to civilization where she belongs. But the wolves die, and if you don't comply, we're blowing that cabin to splinters." Greymane's jaw set. "Over my dead body." "That can be arranged," Clayton shouted back. 45 seconds. I made a decision. I barked sharply, the command for the pack to break formation and attack. Not harassment this time, real aggression. Create enough chaos for Luna and Greymane to escape. Silvertail understood immediately. She gathered Blackpaw, Ember, and Ash with a series of sharp yips. They would charge the fire line, scatter Clayton's men, create an opening. But Luna grabbed my scruff. "No, Father, no, they'll kill you." She was right. 9 armed men, 6 wolves. The math was brutal. But math doesn't matter when you're protecting your daughter. I licked her face. "Goodbye, I love you. Be strong." And prepared to charge. Then Greymane did something that changed everything. He threw open the cabin door and stepped onto the porch, rifle pointed at the ground, hands visible. "Clayton," he shouted, "let's talk, man to man." The flames crackled, smoke swirled. 30 seconds. "Nothing to talk about." Clayton's voice closer now. "Time's up." "I know about your father," Greymane yelled. Silence. Absolute. Even the fire seemed to pause. "What did you say?" Clayton's voice had changed. Lower. Dangerous. "Your father, Nathaniel Reed. I know what he did." I heard movement beyond the flames, footsteps crunching through underbrush. Then Clayton appeared through the smoke, rifle raised, face twisted with fury, and something else. Fear. "You don't know anything, old man." "I know he killed those missionaries 16 years ago," Greymane said steadily. "Daniel and Emma Hawthorne. Shot them, robbed them, burned their wagon, made it look like a bear attack." Clayton's rifle wavered. "You're lying." "I was still a forest ranger then," Greymane continued. "I investigated that scene, found bullet holes in the wagon wheel, tried to report it as murder, got overruled. Easier to blame wildlife than admit we had a killer loose." My mind reeled. Greymane had known this whole time? "But I kept the file," Greymane pressed on. "Kept the evidence. And when I heard about a wild girl in these mountains, I knew. That baby survived. Your father killed her parents, but he missed her. Clayton's face had gone white. My father was a good man. Your father was desperate. Your son Jesse was sick, needed expensive treatment. Nathaniel saw that missionary wagon carrying donation money and made a choice. A terrible choice. "Shut up!" Clayton raised his rifle, aiming at Graymane's chest. "Your son died anyway," Graymane said quietly. "Not from the wolf bite, from infection. Because you refused treatment, believed in faith healing instead of medicine. Jesse died because of your choices, Clayton, not because of wolves, because of you." The words hit like physical blows. Clayton staggered, his rifle dropping slightly. "That's a lie," he whispered. The doctors said he needed antibiotics immediately. You said no, wanted to pray instead. By the time you changed your mind, it was too late." Tears streamed down Clayton's face. "I was trying to save him. God was supposed to—" "God gave you doctors," Graymane interrupted. "You refused them, and then you blamed wolves for your guilt. Spent 10 years hunting them, trying to kill enough wolves to make the pain stop." Clayton collapsed to his knees, rifle falling from his hands. A sound escaped him, raw, animal, broken. The sound of a man confronting truth he'd spent a decade running from. His men emerged from the smoke, confused. One started to raise his rifle toward Graymane. "Stand down," Clayton said hoarsely. "Everyone, stand down." "But boss—" "I said stand down!" Clayton screamed. Then quieter. "It's over. It's all over." He looked up at Graymane, then past him to where Luna stood in the doorway. Really looked at her, perhaps for the first time. "She was just a baby," Clayton whispered. "The Hawthorne baby. Elizabeth. Everyone said she died. She survived," Graymane said, "because Ghost found her, raised her, loved her. Clayton's eyes found me. I stood beside Luna, ready to defend if needed, but I saw no threat in him now. Just devastation." "I'm sorry," Clayton said, voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. I've been running from the truth so long I became the monster I was hunting." He stood, slowly, wiping his face. "Call off your men," he said to his companions. "We're leaving." "But the bounty—" "There is no bounty," Clayton said flatly. "There never was. Just an old man's madness. Go home. All of you. Tell them Clayton Reed's wolf hunt is over." The men hesitated, then began backing away. Within minutes they'd vanished into the forest. Clayton turned to leave, then stopped. "Tell her," he said to Graymane. "Tell Elizabeth. Tell her about her parents, that they were good people, that they loved her." "I will," Graymane promised. Clayton nodded once, then walked away. A man carrying a decade of ghosts, finally facing them. When he was gone, Graymane's legs gave out. He sat heavily on the porch steps, rifle clattering beside him. "I gambled," he said shakily. "I gambled that he had enough humanity left to hear truth." Luna sat beside him, then leaned against his shoulder. "Father saved us." Graymane looked at her, eyes bright. "We're family. That's what family does." But I felt something burning in my chest. Not from the smoke still drifting through camp, something internal, wrong. I coughed, tasted copper, blood, the tumor. It had been growing for months, but stress and exertion had aggravated it. I felt it pressing against my windpipe, choking off air. I staggered, tried to hide it, failed. Luna saw immediately. "Father? Ghost? What's wrong?" I tried to speak, to reassure her, but I could only cough, each spasm bringing more blood. Greymane knelt beside me, his practiced hands examining my throat. I saw recognition in his eyes. He'd seen this before, knew what it meant. "Oh, Ghost," he whispered. "You're dying." Luna made a sound I'd never heard from her. A wail that was neither wolf nor human, but something in between. Pure anguish. "No," she sobbed. "No, no, no, Father, please, Father." Greymane pulled her close. "I'm sorry, honey. I'm so sorry." "Fix him," Luna begged. "Like you fixed Frost. Please." Greymane's face crumpled. "I can't. This is cancer. Too far advanced. I'm sorry." Luna buried her face in my fur, her tears soaking my coat. The pack gathered around, Silvertail, Blackpaw, Ember, Ash, Frost, even Scout approached, pressing his gray muzzle against mine. "You're a good alpha," Scout's whine said. "The best." I tried to stand, to be strong. Alphas don't show weakness, but my legs wouldn't support me. Greymane helped lower me onto the porch. "Easy now. Rest." As I lay there, struggling for each breath, memories flooded back, finding Luna in the ashes, her tiny hand gripping my fur, teaching her to hunt, her first successful rabbit, her pride radiating like sunlight. The night she first howled with the pack. The moment I knew she was truly mine. And this cabin, this impossible family we'd built. Wolf and human and dog all choosing each other. Luna's face appeared above mine. "Father, please don't leave me. I don't know how to do this without you." I wanted to tell her, "You're strong, stronger than me. You'll survive because I taught you how." But I couldn't speak, could only look at her with everything I felt. Then Greymane knelt beside us. "Ghost," he said softly. "I promise you, Luna won't be alone. I'll take care of her. I'll teach her everything I can. And when spring comes, when she returns to the mountains, the pack will be here. Silvertail will lead them. Your family will continue." He placed his hand on my head, gentle. "You did it, brother. You raised her right. You protected her. You can rest now." Permission. He was giving me permission to let go. But I couldn't. Not yet. One more thing needed doing. I looked at Silvertail. She approached, understanding. I touched my nose to hers, the gesture of alpha succession. She was ready, strong, smart, compassionate. She would lead the pack well. Then I looked at Luna one final time. She was crying, her face contorted with grief. But underneath the pain, I saw strength, resilience. The survivor I'd found 16 years ago, now grown into a woman who could bridge two worlds. I'd done what I set out to do, raised her, protected her, prepared her for the life ahead. My work was complete. As darkness crept into my vision, I felt Luna's arms around me, heard Greymane's voice murmuring comfort, sensed the pack pressing close. I wasn't dying alone. I was dying surrounded by family, and that made all the difference. My last thought wasn't fear or regret. It was gratitude. Thank you, I thought, to whatever force had led me to that burned wagon 16 years ago. Thank you for giving me a reason to live. Thank you for my daughter. Then the darkness took me, gentle as falling snow, and I was home. I didn't expect to wake up, but consciousness returned slowly, like surfacing from deep water. Pain came with it, sharp, burning, centered in my throat, but pain meant alive. I opened my eyes to find Luna's face inches from mine, tear-stained and exhausted. She'd been keeping vigil. Behind her, dawn light filtered through the cabin windows. "Father!" Her cry brought the others running. Gray Mane, Scout, the pack. "Easy, Ghost," Gray Mane said, kneeling beside me. "Don't try to move. You collapsed yesterday. The tumor, it ruptured partially but didn't kill you. You're tougher than any wolf I've ever known." He helped me drink water. Cool, clean, soothing against my ravaged throat. "I thought we'd lost you," he continued, voice rough with emotion. "Luna wouldn't leave your side. Wouldn't eat, wouldn't sleep. Just held you and waited." I looked at my daughter. She'd aged in those hours. The last traces of childhood burned away by the fear of loss. She was a woman now, forged by fire and grief. I licked her face. "Still here, daughter, still here." But we both knew the truth. The tumor remained. This was borrowed time, nothing more. Days, maybe a week. I'd gotten my goodbye. Now I needed to use whatever remained to prepare her for what came next. That afternoon, a stranger appeared at the forest edge. She rode a horse, alone, dressed in expensive outdoor gear that screamed, "City person attempting wilderness." But she sat the saddle confidently, and her eyes were sharp, assessing. Gray Mane grabbed his rifle instinctively, but something in the woman's posture, hands clearly visible, no weapons drawn, made him pause. "I'm not with Clayton," she called out. "My name is Margaret Hawthorne. I'm looking for my niece." The name hit like lightning. Hawthorne, Luna's family name. The woman dismounted slowly, keeping her movements visible and non-threatening. As she walked closer, I caught her scent, fear, determination, and underneath it all, desperate hope. She was perhaps 42, with dark hair graying at the temples, and Luna's same green eyes. Family. Blood. Family. "I've been searching for 16 years, Margaret said, voice breaking. "My sister Emma and her husband Daniel. They were missionaries. Their wagon was attacked. Everyone assumed Elizabeth died with them." She pulled out a photograph, weathered and creased from years of handling. A woman holding a baby. The woman had Luna's eyes, Luna's face. "But I never stopped looking," Margaret continued. "And when I heard rumors about a wild girl in these mountains, I knew. I knew it had to be her." Luna stepped forward, studying the photograph. I could smell her confusion. This woman was stranger, but something about the image called to her. Deep memory, perhaps. Cellular recognition. Margaret's eyes filled with tears when she saw Luna. "Oh my God, Elizabeth, you're alive, Elizabeth. You're really alive." She took a step forward, arms outstretched. Luna retreated behind me, frightened by the stranger's intensity. Margaret stopped, understanding. "I'm sorry. I'm your Aunt Margaret, your mother's sister. I know you don't remember me. You were just a baby, but I've been looking for you your whole life." Gray Mane spoke up. "How did you find us?" "I heard about Clayton's hunt," Margaret explained. "Came as fast as I could. Hired a guide who abandoned me 2 days ago, but I kept going. I had to. Elizabeth is all I have left of my sister." She reached into her coat, slowly, telegraphing the movement, and pulled out something small, a music box. "Your mother's," she said softly. "She played this every night, sang you to sleep. She called you her little moonbeam." Margaret opened the box. A delicate melody filled the clearing, a lullaby, sweet and haunting. And something extraordinary happened. Luna's eyes went distant, unfocused. Her breathing quickened. Tears began streaming down her face, tears she didn't seem to understand. "You remember?" Margaret breathed. But before Luna could respond, a gunshot cracked through the air. The music box exploded in Margaret's hand. Pieces scattered across the snow, porcelain and metal shrapnel. Margaret screamed, clutching her bleeding hand. I spun, snarling. Clayton emerged from the tree line, rifle raised. But he looked different. Wild. Broken. His eyes were red-rimmed, face haggard. He'd been drinking. I could smell the alcohol from 30 yards away. "Should have known," Clayton slurred. "Should have known the rich aunt would show up. Come to take the freak away, make her normal." "Clayton," Greymane said carefully, raising his own rifle, "you said it was over. You walked away." "I tried," Clayton shouted. "I tried to live with it, but I can't. Don't you understand? If she lives, if she tells people what happened, my father's name, my family, everything destroyed." The truth crystallized. Clayton hadn't found peace in facing his demons. He'd found only more reasons to destroy the evidence. "She's just a child," Margaret said, pressing her bleeding hand against her coat. "An innocent girl who's done nothing wrong." "She's a witness." Clayton swung his rifle toward Luna. "As long as she's alive, she's proof my father was a murderer." He was crying now, the gun wavering in his shaking hands. "Jesse's memory. It's all I have left. If people know my father killed for money, if they know I let my own son die, what's left? What's left of me?" "Clayton," Greymane said softly, "killing her won't fix what's broken. It'll only make you what you fear becoming." "Too late," Clayton whispered. "I'm already there." His finger moved to the trigger. I launched myself forward, but I was weak, slow. The tumor had stolen my speed. I wouldn't reach him in time. Then Luna moved. She'd been learning from Greymane, learning human reflexes alongside wolf instincts. She dove, rolled, came up with a rock in her hand, smooth, river-worn, perfect weight. Her throw was flawless. The rock struck Clayton's rifle just as he fired. The shot went wild, the bullet slamming into a tree trunk instead of flesh. Clayton stumbled backward, and suddenly the pack was on him. Not killing, I'd trained them too well for that, but surrounding, snarling, showing teeth. Clayton fell to his knees, surrounded by wolves, his rifle lost in the snow. He looked up at Luna, standing over him, and something in him finally broke completely. "Do it," he sobbed. "Just do it. I deserve it." But Luna didn't move. She just stared at him with those green eyes, her mother's eyes, and I saw her processing something profound. This man had tried to kill her, had terrorized her family, had let his own son die through stubbornness and pride. But he was also a victim, of loss, of guilt, of the terrible choices that compound until they crush you. Luna lowered her hand, shook her head. "No kill," she said in halting English. "No. No more killing. Enough." Clayton stared at her, stunned. "Why? Why would you?" "Because," Luna said, searching for words. "Because Father—" She pointed at me. "Teach me. Protect, yes. Kill. Only if must. You—" She struggled, then gave up on English and said something in our language, which Greymane translated. "You're already dead inside. Killing your body would be mercy. Living with what you've done, that's the real punishment." It was harsh. True. And more mercy than Clayton deserved. Margaret stepped forward, still clutching her bleeding hand. "There's a sheriff in Seeley Lake. Real law, not your cousin. I'm pressing charges for assault. You'll answer for what you've done." Clayton didn't resist when Greymane zip-tied his hands. didn't protest when they led him to his horse. He went docilely, a shell of the man who'd attacked us. As they prepared to take him down the mountain, Clayton looked back at Luna one final time. "Your parents," he said quietly. "They were good people. They died trying to help others, and you—" His voice broke. "You're better than any of us. I hope you find peace. God knows I never will." Then he was gone, led away by Margaret and Greymane, Scout accompanying them for protection. The pack and I were left alone with Luna. She collapsed then, all the strength that had held her upright draining away. She fell to her knees in the snow and wept, deep, wrenching sobs that shook her entire body. I limped to her, pressed my body against hers. The pack surrounded us, a circle of warmth and protection. "I almost killed him," Luna said between sobs, switching back to our language. "I wanted to kill him, Father. Is that wrong? Does that make me bad?" I nuzzled her face. "No, daughter. It makes you alive. Anger is natural. But you chose mercy. That's what makes you good." We stayed like that as the sun climbed higher, as the mountain breathed around us, as the world continued turning despite everything that had broken and bled. When Greymane returned hours later with Margaret, he found us still there. Luna had cried herself into exhausted sleep against my side. The pack had settled into guard positions. "Clayton's in custody," Greymane reported quietly. "Sheriff's holding him on multiple charges. Margaret's statement, plus evidence of the vandalism and assault, should be enough to put him away." Margaret approached slowly, her hand now properly bandaged. She knelt in the snow several feet away, giving us space. "I need to tell her," Margaret said, "about her parents, about her family, about me." Greymane nodded. "When she wakes." They waited with us, these two humans who'd become part of our pack. As afternoon faded toward evening, Luna finally stirred. She looked around, momentarily disoriented. Then memory returned, and her face crumpled with fresh grief. Margaret spoke then, her voice gentle. "Elizabeth." "Luna," Greymane corrected. "She calls herself Luna now." Margaret nodded. "Luna, I want to tell you about your mother. Emma was my little sister. Brilliant, compassionate, brave. She and your father Daniel spent their lives helping people, building schools, providing medical care in places that had none." She pulled out more photographs. Emma and Daniel on their wedding day. Emma pregnant, glowing. Emma holding baby Elizabeth, love radiating from her smile. They were traveling through Montana to reach a new mission site, Margaret continued, carrying donation money, $50,000 meant for a children's hospital. Someone, her voice hardened, someone murdered them for it, made it look like an animal attack. Luna studied the photographs, fingers tracing her mother's face. Recognition flickered in her eyes, deep buried memory surfacing. "You were their miracle baby," Margaret said, tears falling freely now. "Emma had 3 miscarriages before you. When you were born healthy, perfect, she called it a gift from God. She loved you so much, Luna. So much." Luna's hand moved to the photograph of Emma holding baby Elizabeth. "Mother," she whispered. "My mother." "Yes," Margaret sobbed. "Your mother, my sister, and she would be so proud of you, not despite how you survived, but because of it. You're strong, resourceful, brave, everything she hoped you'd become." She reached into her coat again, this time pulling out a piece of the destroyed music box. Just a fragment, showing part of the painted scene. A woman's face. "It's not much," Margaret said. "But it's all that survived. I want you to have it." Luna took the fragment carefully, holding it like it might break, like it was precious beyond measure. Then she reached into her own pouch, the leather bag she wore around her neck, and pulled out something else. A smooth river stone, the one she'd used to deflect Clayton's rifle. She held both objects, the fragment and the stone, one in each hand. Her two worlds, her two families. "Both," she said firmly, looking between Margaret and me. "Keep both, always." Understanding passed between us. She wasn't choosing one family over another. She was claiming both, wolf and human, wild and civilized, Luna and Elizabeth. She was choosing to be whole. Margaret understood too. "I came here to take you back to Boston," she admitted, "to give you the life I thought you deserved. Education, comfort, normalcy." She looked around at the mountains, at the pack, at me. "But I see now, this is your life. This is your family. And Ghost," she met my eyes, "he's been a better father than most humans could ever be." Greymane cleared his throat. "There might be a middle way." Both women looked at him. "Luna spends winters down in the valley," he proposed, "with Margaret, learning to read and write, understanding her human heritage. But spring through fall, she lives here, wild and free with her pack." "Both worlds," Margaret said slowly. "Not one or the other." "Both," Luna agreed firmly. And in her voice I heard the future taking shape. My daughter wouldn't be forced to choose. She would walk between worlds, belong to both, diminished by neither. It was more than I'd ever dreamed possible. As night fell and stars emerged overhead, we sat together, wolf, human, and something beautifully in between, planning a future I wouldn't live to see, but one I could die knowing I'd helped create. 3 months have passed since that day, 3 months that I've watched like precious gems, each one a gift I never expected to receive. The tumor didn't kill me that day, but it's winning now, slowly, inevitably. Each breath is harder than the last. Each morning I wake surprised to still be breathing. But I'm not afraid anymore, because I've seen the future take shape, and it's beautiful. Luna spent her first weeks with Margaret in Seeley Lake. Greymane accompanied them, helping Luna adjust to the overwhelming sensory assault of human civilization. She told me about it when she returned, her eyes wide with wonder and confusion. "So many people, Father," she said in our language, which now mixed freely with English words she was learning. "Loud machines, lights everywhere. Everything smells wrong, chemicals and exhaust and wrongness. But there were good parts, too. Books. Margaret had given her books with pictures, teaching her to read. Luna devoured them with the same intensity she brought to tracking prey. "Words are power," she told me, excitement radiating from her. "Like knowing animal tracks, but for human thoughts. I can learn what people know, even if they died hundreds of years ago." She learned numbers, mathematics, history, science. But every 3 days she returned to the mountains, to us, to check that I was still alive, yes, but also because the wild called to her with a voice that civilization couldn't drown out. "I belong to both now," she explained one evening as we sat watching the sunset. "The human world teaches me things I need. But this," she gestured at the mountains, the forest, the pack, "this is my soul. I can't lose it. I won't." Greymane understood. He split his time too, staying at the cabin but visiting town weekly for supplies and to check on Luna's progress with Margaret. "She's remarkable," he told me one night, speaking as if I could understand every word. And perhaps I could. 16 years of living together had taught us to communicate beyond language. "Reads at a 6th grade level already. Margaret says she's never seen anyone learn so fast, but—" He paused, choosing words carefully. "She's not fully human anymore, Ghost. Not in the way Margaret hoped. She sits in restaurants and tracks everyone's movements like prey. Counts exits, tests food for poison. She's brilliant, but she's feral. That doesn't go away." He scratched behind my ears, his touch gentle. "Margaret's struggling with it. She wants her niece back, the baby Elizabeth who would have grown up normal, gone to college, had a traditional life. Instead, she got Luna, wild, fierce, bridging two worlds but fully belonging to neither." I huffed softly. "Luna is exactly who she should be." "I know," Greymane said, as if he'd understood. "I told Margaret the same thing. Luna isn't broken. She's adapted, evolved. She's something new, something maybe the world needs more of. Someone who understands both civilization and wilderness, who can speak for both." The pack had adjusted too. Silvertail had fully assumed alpha responsibilities. She was patient, strategic, compassionate, everything an alpha should be. The pack respected her, followed her lead. I was proud, but I was also dying. Everyone could smell it now. The tumor had grown, pressing harder against my windpipe. Eating was difficult. Breathing was a constant battle. My body was shutting down system by system. I had perhaps a week left, maybe less. Luna knew. She'd stopped going to town as frequently, staying closer to the cabin, sleeping pressed against my side every night as if her presence could hold death at bay. "Don't leave me," she whispered in the darkness. "I'm not ready." But ready or not, death comes. That's the one truth all living things share. On a cold October morning, when frost painted the meadows silver, Margaret returned to the cabin. This time she brought a priest. "Father Michael," she introduced him. "He knew your parents, Luna, worked with them on the mission. He wanted to meet you." The old priest was perhaps 70, with kind eyes and hands that shook slightly. Parkinson's, I guessed from the tremor pattern. He knelt in the snow to be at eye level with Luna. "Elizabeth Grace Hawthorne," he said softly. "Your mother was my dear friend. She wrote me letters about you, how you loved music, how you'd laugh at everything, how bright your eyes were." Luna listened, her expression complex. Hunger for connection to her lost parents warred with discomfort at this stranger's intimacy. "She asked me to baptize you," Father Michael continued. "I did, when you were 3 months old. Holy water from the mission well, blessed by Bishop Anderson himself. Your mother was so happy that day." He pulled out a small, worn Bible. "This was hers. She wanted you to have it when you were old enough. Margaret kept it safe all these years." Luna took the Bible carefully, opened it to find her mother's handwriting on the inside cover. "For my darling Elizabeth, may you always know you are loved. By us, by God, by everyone whose life you touch. You are our miracle. Never forget that. Mom." Luna traced the words with her finger, tears falling onto the aged paper. "She loved me," she whispered. "More than anything," Father Michael confirmed. "Your parents died protecting you. When the attack came, Your father put himself between you and danger. Your mother wrapped you in every blanket she had, threw you from the wagon hoping you'd survive. They sacrificed everything for you. The truth of her parents' love seemed to settle something in Luna. The question she'd carried her whole life, why was I abandoned, finally answered. Not abandoned, protected, saved through sacrifice. That afternoon, Margaret made her proposal. "I've bought property near here," she said. 20 acres bordering the Bob Marshall Wilderness. I'm building a house large enough for Luna to stay whenever she wants, close enough to the wild that she won't feel caged. She looked at me. I know Ghost doesn't have long, and I know Luna will grieve, but I want her to know she'll always have a home. Human or wolf, winter or summer, she'll always have a place. Greymane added, "And I'll stay at my cabin. Keep an eye on things up here. Make sure the pack's protected, that Luna can return whenever she needs." They were building a safety net, a support system for the life Luna would have to navigate alone once I was gone. I was grateful. More grateful than I could express. That evening, as the sun set in shades of gold and crimson, I asked Greymane to carry me outside. My legs wouldn't support me anymore. He lifted me gently. This old man, with cancer of his own, carrying a dying wolf like something precious. He set me on the ridge where I'd watched over my territory for 9 years, where I'd first seen Luna take her first steps, where I'd taught her to howl at the moon. The pack gathered. Silvertail, Blackpaw, Ember, Ash, Frost. Even Scout limped up to join us, this old dog who'd become pack in everything but species. Luna sat beside me, one hand buried in my fur. Margaret and Greymane stood behind us, bearing witness. "Father," Luna said in our language, "I'm not ready for you to go." "I know, daughter, but it's time." "Will I see you again? After?" "I believe so. In the wind through the pines, in the howl that calls you home, in every hunt, every sunrise, every moment you choose to be brave. I'll be there." "I love you," she sobbed. "Thank you for finding me. Thank you for everything." I licked her face one final time. "Thank you for being my daughter, for giving me a reason to live. You saved me as much as I saved you." The sun touched the horizon. Golden light spilled across the mountains, painting everything in shades of fire and hope. I looked at each member of my chosen family. Silvertail, who would lead with wisdom. Blackpaw, who would protect with ferocity. Ember and Ash, who would nurture the next generation. Frost, who would grow strong. Scout, who bridged worlds. Greymane, who'd become the brother I lost. Margaret, who loved Luna enough to let her be wild. And Luna, my impossible daughter, my miracle. The baby I found in ashes, who grew into a woman who could change the world. "Ghost," Greymane said softly, "it's okay. You can rest now. We've got her. I promise. Luna won't be alone." Permission? Again. But this time, I was ready to accept it. My vision began to blur. The tumor had finally won. But I wasn't afraid. I'd done what I set out to do. Raised her, protected her, prepared her for the life ahead. My work was complete. I closed my eyes and let the darkness come, gentle, peaceful, like falling asleep after a long day's hunt. My last sensation was Luna's hand in my fur, her voice breaking as she sang, a lullaby, her mother's lullaby. The one from the music box. She was singing me home, and I went gladly, knowing she would be okay, because I'd taught her how to survive. And more importantly, I'd taught her how to love. The pack raised their voices in a howl that echoed across the mountains, a song of farewell, of honor, of love that transcends species and death. I heard it as I drifted away, and I was content. Sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about romance. They're about showing up when someone needs you most. Ghost found Luna in ashes and chose her, not because he had to, because broken souls recognize each other. He'd lost everything, his mate, his pups, his reason to live. She was alone, abandoned, 6 months old, and dying. They saved each other. For 16 years, he taught her to survive, to be fierce, to love without conditions. And when his time came, he didn't die alone in some forgotten corner. He died surrounded by the family he'd built. Wolves, humans, a dog, and the daughter who'd given his life meaning again. That's the secret nobody tells you about getting older. It's never too late to matter, never too late to build something beautiful from the wreckage. Ghost was 9 years old, ancient for a wolf, dying of cancer when he made his final stand. But he didn't waste those last months on regret. He used them to ensure Luna would be loved after he was gone. He built her a bridge between two worlds, left her with family who'd protect her. That's legacy. Not what you leave behind, but who you leave behind, whole, loved, and strong enough to carry on. What would you sacrifice everything for? Have you ever been someone's second chance, or have they been yours? Drop your story in the comments. We need to hear it.